Hey everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. Sam Altman, who is out at OpenAI, as well as a few of his allies after a surprise ousting from his board. I want to focus on how I think this is actually a golden opportunity for Palantir. But really quick, for some context, of course, the significance of his firing was that he was a board member as well as a co-founder of OpenAI, as well as Greg Brockman, a director who decided to quit alongside him when the departure of Sam was made known. So essentially, getting the exact reason on his firing is still up in the air with conspiracies and rumors, some far-fetched or more realistic. And you even got Elon Musk talking about the hidden power of Microsoft to pull the strings there, with Nadia firing back immediately, saying Elon is wrong and that they didn't hold the power to do this move here. So of course, we all look at the board. Now, if something happened in the background, we'll probably find out much later. But essentially, this leaves a power vacuum, I believe, in the AI space. Now, business-wise, I truly don't think this changes much, but with the public perception and ones who busted the doors open to public with ChatGPT, OpenAI, it looks like it may do something here. And OpenAI losing its founder's face is prepping them to fall into the shadows, especially if a fight is put up regarding this ousting. Now, on to Palantir, and I gotta preface this as my speculation, but remember, first, this is not only good for Palantir in my opinion, but also other AI players, especially Google, who is still a juggernaut with their resources and all the work they're doing with AI. Now, it can be good for Microsoft too, as they want to get more control indirectly over OpenAI, but looking at the outsiders, of course, this creates an opportunity for Google to take that spot for the public to believe that they are the innovators in AI and will be the ones to develop and shape the future of how this all manifests here, and they'll be leading the charge. Now, for Palantir themselves, this association with AI and ChatGPT didn't necessarily hurt them or anything of the sort, because it helped educate the public on, the slim use case of how everyday people can imagine it and even apply it to their own daily lives and work. But more importantly for Palantir today, the association of AI and Palantir has a chance to be redefined. And this is while OpenAI is busy with this shakeup. And it can be as simple as their competitor, which I heavily put in quotes. So product-wise, OpenAI isn't a competitor to Palantir, but rather they compete on being the face and being known for AI and its usage there, and working with other countries and just being very, very important to the conversation. But nonetheless, very, very broadly, they are a competitor in that context in this time of weakness. So Palantir can try to get more face time to build up this association with the public and leaders. And also, remember, more longer term here, nothing like this with a founder, CEO being ousted is zero for Palantir. With their F-share class structure, don't worry about this, as it's pretty common also too for now huge tech firms to be founder oriented, and maybe after hyper maturity, thinking like a Jeff Bezos, basically leaving on his own terms. That's most likely the scenario for someone like Alex Karp and the F-share class structure, and that's always a challenging time for any organization regardless, as they separate out that value of the face versus the true engines that run the business, not being dependent anymore on the founder and having that reputation. So I think this adds up to the helpfulness of Palantir having this stability and leadership right now, while AI is a hot topic, because now we have a real life example of what can happen to an organization like OpenAI that is crucially in the middle of the political and military topics and conversations of what happens if AI falls into the wrong hands and how should this technology be controlled. And I'm not saying only companies like Palantir's F-share classes are allowed to do this, and this is the right way. Not even close. I don't believe that. But rather, it starts the conversation, at least, that there needs to be some structure in place to ensure if there's changes at organizations that can possibly make life-changing and world-changing LLMs and different factors there, that seemingly out of left field changes their leadership, doesn't thwart the direction of AI's development in a healthy way. And with Palantir, you get an open book, unabashedly pro-Western, and will do anything to support the United States military and its members, as well as its allies in Ukraine and Israel and around the world. And there's no surprises there. And we know with the F-class shares, this narrative will not flip overnight, and that can be taken away with some life-saving and game-changing technologies away from U.S. and Western interests abroad. So OpenAI changing leadership just opens this can of worms of what's next, and will serve as a cautionary tale for other companies and their potential customers, and if it'll flip the script on them in the future. So how can Palantir take advantage of this, though, and this opportunity to its full extent? Well, first things first, they need to just continue their consistency with their mission in helping out allies. I'm not worried about this. We know Palantir will be attending a government conference regarding building up a military-industrial base between the United States and Ukraine there. So this sounds more of a foundational step for Palantir that they've already been doing to be integrated as the software that runs this, especially on the supply chain side, to make this work in tandem amongst allies and the true needs of the war against Russia. So continuation of this is a no-brainer and their bread and butter for the future for the military business. So I know they'll be doing this. And if whole countries and governments have trust in your organization like Palantir, they sure as hell want to know that there won't be some sudden ousting of your leadership that is unfriendly to the type of business that you're doing together with building up a military industrial base. So the face matters in these cases a lot, and what you say and do can kill deals just like that. Now, AI itself is still being figured out by the public for consumers, but also enterprise-wise with how companies are doing this commercially. The most public appearance of these use cases are from Palantir's videos on YouTube, but also their AIP cons and what their clients say. I think Palantir ramping these public appearances not only creates more and more associations of artificial intelligence in Palantir, and not necessarily on the model end here, but the ones who can power the way models are trained and being that infrastructure with the data, as well as the plumbing that is needed to more safely and smartly implement AI with your data and knowing it's secure. And so I'm not saying there was a poor public perception, of course, of OpenAI before, but it's natural for people to see disorganization and chaos at the top of the face of AI and start to think, well, does this change everything that the organization stood for and how they ran? Knowing Palantir is built on security and controls, of course, won't end up this chaotic out of nowhere. And it adds up to a more consistent and trustworthy narrative, especially with managing your usage of AI. So in this case, no news is good news. But when there is news, like on mainstream media, whenever there's a photo shoot, we have one less recognizable face to compete with, like Sam Altman, taking away the spotlight from Alex Karp. So that's actually beneficial for us. And if they were at the same White House or some conference or any AI conference that seems to be popping up everywhere in the world, since it is, like I mentioned, a hot topic like politics and technology and business everywhere, then it's good that we get more spotlight time there possibly. And this is also where the government side and commercial side mix. Palantir's stability in politics and military is still relatively palatable, and we see this in the growth of commercial clients and those customer numbers. And I believe this growing reputation of them providing the software to harness AI yourselves is now much more desirable because yes, third-party models are still desirable with the cost of compute and using as much data as possible and their broadness, but like I said, any rumblings of risk can slowly convince more and more organizations the need to control this yourselves. And in times of uncertainty, so like if you're using OpenAI's ChatGPT, what if you have a way of saying, oh, I don't really know what leadership's going to do next? It ramps up the desire to at least look into the safety and knowing you have full control of security and the data that you need to run your business on if you use Palantir. And it wasn't intentional here too, but Karp has said in the past that times of chaos and uncertainty are the best for Palantir because honestly, in my opinion, they are ones that are putting you on the steering wheel of the ship that allows you to navigate the rough waves yourself when it comes to uncertainty. So remember, these are still speculations and my thoughts on sharing the AI spotlight in the world just a little bit easier now, unless Sam Altman makes a big splash again with another new AI organization. But either way, this still affects OpenAI and the public perception of the public questioning if they truly have their house in order, since the board seems to have qualms with their previous leader. But what are your thoughts below? How do you think Sam's ousting went down? Do you think there are much bigger players in the background wanting this to play out, or something totally different no one is talking about? Just let me know below, and I'll see you in the next video.